Howdy folks, welcome to Katie Phillips Scrapbook Designs. I'm Katie and today we're working on page number 7 in the Reach for the Stars mini album. For this album, we're using the Theater of Stars paper pad by Recollections. And page number 7, I wasn't sure there was going to be a page number 7 because it's starting to get a little chunky, but I made the spine thicker than I normally would for a 4-fin album. So we do have room for one more fin. And this is going to be, page 7 is going to be a stacked pocket page with a flap that goes over the top. So, like the rest of the album, the base page is 6 1/4 by 7 1/2, and we're going to score the 6 1/4 inch side at 5 3/4 and 5 1/2. And I think I'm going to start with the first pocket. So this pocket measures 6 1/2 by 2 3/4. We're going to score the 6 1/2 inch side at 1/2 inch, fold that under, and then score at 5 1/2 inches. And the 2 3/4 inch side, we're going to score at 2 1/4 inches. The mats for this pocket are, the larger mat is 5 3/8 by 2 1/8, and the smaller mat is 5 1/4 by 2. And then we are going to wrap this pocket around the mats for pocket number 2. And the larger mat, well, pocket number 1, the larger mat for that pocket is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and the smaller mat is 5 1/4 by 2 1/2, and we're just going to glue that up in the upper section here because this pocket is going to cover this bottom section down here. So let's get started with scoring. I've got all the mats inked with black soot, but I do need to ink the pocket. Then I'm going to add double-sided tape all the way around the edge and wrap it around. Alright, now I've got the mats all assembled. I'm going to double check. Yep, this pocket's going to cover the bottom of that second mat just fine. So I'm lining this mat up kind of centered between this score line and this score line, and I'm coming right up against this score line here on the, it's going to end up being the bottom of the page. Pull the release tape and press. Pull the release tape and press. All right, there is the bottom pocket assembled. Now we need to prep the second pocket, the larger of the two pockets. Find it. I think this is it. Yep. So this pocket measures 6.5 by 4 3/4. And again, we're going to score the 6.5 inch side at 1/2 inch, fold it under, score it at 5.5 inches. And then we're going to score the 4 3/4 inch side at 4 1/4. And we're going to wrap that around the base page mat. The larger mat is 5 3/8 by 7 3/8. And I've got a smaller mat up here. It is 5 1/4 by 4. 5 1/4, yeah, 5 1/4 by 4. So it's going to sit right up here. Alright, I did make a little bit of a boo-boo on the bottom score line, but it's not going to be a factor because that boo-boo is going to be covered up by this smaller pocket here. So I'm going to take this smaller pocket and align it with the correct score line at the bottom. And kind of center it side to side between the two side score lines. And the sides of the pocket should come right up to the two score lines on the larger pocket. Again, I'm going to dry fit and make sure, yep, that the edge of this mat is going to be hidden by the pocket wrapped around it. And I'm going to center it between these two score lines, and I'm going to come up right to the correct score line here on the bottom. Pull the release tape paper, press down. Okay, I'm going to set this aside for a sec because before we can put this mat down on the base page, I've got to add the flap to the base page because it's got to sit on top of the flap. So the flap measures 5.5 squared, and we're going to score one of the 5.5 inch sides at 5 inches. The mats for the flap are 5 1/4 by 4 3/4, and I've got two of those. We need one for the front and one for the back, and they've both been inked, so they're ready to go. So let's get this mat scored, or this flap scored and matted, and then we're going to do the base page. We're also going to have to ink both of these. For the flap, you may have noticed that I didn't ink this section of the tab here. I inked the back, part of it anyway, but I didn't ink this section. So this section is going to be the top, and this is going to be the outer facing flap section. And the reason I didn't ink that part is because that's not going to show. It's going to be glued down facing the base page. The other section, part of it, is going to be visible. We have one more mat, same dimensions. That's going to go on the back. And if you're like me and you write your description of what the piece is and its dimensions in pencil, or in this case white gel pen, you want to make sure that that's going to end up either covered by a mat or on the back. Because if I don't do that, I'll end up getting to the end of the project with extra pieces left over, wondering what in the heck was that. And no, it had a purpose. There's a reason I cut that. Now we're going to add this flap to the top of the base page. Now we can put the pockets down. So this is going to close down like this, and we're going to have some mats, some photo mats that go in this pocket and hold this flap down. And one of the reasons that I am comfortable using double-sided tape to glue the pockets down this way is because I know that I'm going to be going over this with liquid glue and get that stronger hold that liquid glue gives you, as opposed to double-sided tape. This section, I'm going to align it at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to align the sides of the pockets with the edge of the page. I want to make sure that I'm not going over the score line over here. Look good. And this little section here is the reason why I inked the inside of the tab for the flap. Okay, so we've got 4 mats here. The first mat is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and I'm going to add another mat on top of that. It's 4 1/8 by 6 1/8, and we've got 3 mats that are 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and mats for those that are 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. And I went with those sizes because if I use 3 by 4 photos on these, you'll still be able to see some of the pattern paper. And if I use a 4 by 6 photo on this one, I'll still be able to see some of the pattern paper. Let's see, which one do I want to do first? Let's do the big one first. this is it for page number 7. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing more mini album related content. I release new videos every Friday and Tuesday. And if you have any questions, leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and I will link to all the materials that I use that I can find for sale in a first run store in the description box. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.